We're recording. That was a dreadful fade out. Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Forest All Over podcast. Technically episode 1 on StreamYard, but episode 158. We've got Simon from the Bahamas in. We've got Chief from Chicago. And we've got Matt from the UK. Myself over here in Ireland. We'll start with you, Chief. How are you doing all the way over in USA? What time is it with you?
Just after 3 p.m. I feel great. I'm ready for the season. We recorded our little soccer show here earlier this morning. So you got a bunch of guys who just jumped on teams at the top of the table. And you got me who's just in it for the long haul. So it feels good. And I'm very optimistic about this team.
Class. Yeah. Well, I'm optimistic about this season, certainly more than I was last year. We've got Simon over in Bahamas. Simon, how are you doing? What time is it with you?
I'm great, fellas. How are you? It's coming up to 4 p.m. It's just after 4 p.m. here in Nassau. We're on the eastern seaboard pretty much. And I've got a soccer game in 1 hour, so we've got to get cracking. In that soccer game, I'm going to be going 2/3 full kit wanker with these beautiful socks from last season.
Love it. And
have you got a name on the back of your shirt?
No, I don't. I'm not going the shirt because I can't commit to that just yet. But no name on the back of the shirt.
Right, I was about to introduce Matt, but everyone knows who Matt is. But I will introduce you, Matt from the UK, basically my co-host, who asked me to introduce him as Matt from the UK. And you haven't been muting yourself, so if you can do that when you can.
Sorry, I've got to get his nut button. Absolutely, Chris. Yeah, I'm here in the UK, and it's 9 p.m. But on the match day, it's going to be 3 p.m. Very lucky, and I can't wait to hear about these guys, what it's even going to be like for the beginning of the Premier League season. But yeah, I'm very excited to get going. I'm lucky enough to be going to the game. I'm going with Chris on that side. It's a nice special treat to start the season. We're going to be there in the Brian Clough stand. But nice to see both Simon and Chief here with us today on this actual. Finally, we've got some international guests together, and it's a lovely thing.
Yeah, I love the way you're kind of treating yourself like a guest. You're coming in as if you're a guest. You're talking as if you're a guest. It's kind of ridiculous, but I'll just go with it.
Less responsibility when you're a guest.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. That's exactly it. He loves it. Right. Bournemouth this weekend. How are we feeling about it? We'll start with you, Chief. What are your initial thoughts? And then I'll just ask you. I'll go into the straight 1, 2, 3, 4 questions.
Yeah, initial thoughts are thank God Dominic Solanke is no longer there. So he's been a terror against Forest. You know, basically when I started with they're both in the championship, I was like, this guy is a problem. Now it's a problem at a different end of the table. So I'm excited to just have a game against Bournemouth. They didn't really replace him, so I don't know where their goals are coming from. Probably a set piece, but yeah, I'm very excited. I'm optimistic about this game. It feels like these first 3 games, and this game in particular, you need 3 points. So I'm ready to get after it, and I really like the makeup of this team.
So I'll just hit you with it: win, lose, or draw. Are we winning, losing, or drawing this weekend?
I think it's going to be a 2-1 win for Forest. And I think we're going to have the majority of the possession. I think we're going to look like a proper team this time around. Yeah,
because I mean that's pre-season. We've looked that way. I mean, obviously we play teams worse than us, but we've had most of the possession. Sangare looks good. Elanga and Hudson-Odoi are firing. Even Wood's doing really well. Gibbs White will step it up when he shows up on the day. I'm sure he always does. So no, I think I would hazard a guess that everyone in this stream will probably go for a win. Simon, what do you think? You reckon win, lose, or draw?
Well, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I'm going for a draw. Because it's Bournemouth. I don't know what it is about that team, but they're kind of hardy and they're sinewy, and we just never seem to be able to get the better of them. So because of that, my prediction is a 2-2 draw where we dominate the game and it's last minute 2 points in the trash can.
Right. Well, that's exactly how Matt feels. I can tell he's laughing about it. He almost enjoys the pain, like most Forest fans. Matt, what are your thoughts? Win, lose, or draw?
Well, it's a bit, we just recorded another episode for our normal podcast where you remember I'm very fickle. I'm so impressionable just hearing these guys talk. And I'm going, before this, I was thinking the same as Simon, but I was trying to push myself to be positive. But I'm going to stick to my guns with what I said. But just hearing Simon say that, I was like, yeah, I think there's like this. I don't know. I'm caught between the two. I think we're going to win. I do think we're going to win. But I'm just too fickle. As soon as Simon was talking, I'm going, yeah.
Simon's stuck in last year. Those were last year's problems.
Yeah,
I'm stuck in the last 38 years.
Yeah, last year's kit, last year's problems.
Yeah.
Well,
but
do you know?
I'm going to say win. I did put down win, so I have to stick to it.
Right.
But I don't know if I believe it. I'm just really willing.
Same as always. It's just the same as always. You call me a fence sitter, like seriously.
True.
It's either win, lose, or draw, Matt. Win, yeah.
Win. I've said win before I came on.
What
Got to
score?
stick to it. I actually think it's going to be like a 2-0 Forest win. We're just doing that for now because you were saying stuff about Morgan Gibbs-White and he's part of my. I've got some predictions about him.
Yeah, fair enough. I reckon
we'll win 2-0.
Yeah, I reckon we're going to win as well. I'm going to go with 3-2. I'm going to say we're going to concede 2. And we're going to win. I reckon we'll go down as well. We'll go 1-0 down and we'll come back and we'll win 3-2. I hate Bournemouth. I hate them. They've ruined my life the last 2 years. I think my anniversary was a couple of years ago and we lost 3-2 in that game. And I actually couldn't pick myself up off the ground. It was unbearable.
But like Simon just said, there is something about them. There is something about them.
There was something about them. I think their manager did really well last year, but they've lost Solanke. He scored 19 goals last season. As Chief said, when you lose that kind of goal scorer, it hurt us when Taiwo got injured. I'm sure it's even worse for them losing Solanke. So they're not going to replace that player by the weekend. That's going to be a big miss for them. It's going to kill their confidence as well. So I think we beat them 3-2. You and I are going to be at the game. You're not going to be moaning in my ear all day. Hopefully we get the job done. Right, next question.
You have to say what Chief said. He was pointing about there is. I don't think it's false hope as well. There's something about the preseason we've had. I really don't think it's red tinted glasses. I'm going, hang on, this is good. Like this seems to be the best it's ever felt for me in my life. What I think is that what you mean?
Well, that's because we're in the Premier League for a third season. So yeah, it's probably
no. In terms of confidence, in terms of seeing the preseason, seeing the signings, in terms of just genuine. Do you feel like that, Simon, as well?
I feel like it means nothing. It means nothing. You have a bad preseason, and it doesn't matter. You have a good preseason, and it doesn't matter. And I mean, that's Luke Chambers says that, and he's played preseason. Yeah. And so I feel that the good preseason, everyone's optimistic about their club at the beginning of the season. So I feel that we have to take like a third off the top when we think about what is realistically achievable this year, because everyone's always optimistic about their club at the beginning of the season.
She's burst our bubble from Bahamas.
Yeah, man.
I mean, geez, no, fair play. Chief, anything to counter with that with preseason? Because I have something to say, but I've been speaking a lot.
Yeah, I think having Sangare is the key. He was the statement signing last year, didn't really contribute hardly anything at all. And then seeing him look bright and fit and a guy who can contribute as a 6 and progress the ball forward. It feels like that was a missing piece. I think his height will help on set pieces as well, which was the Achilles heel. And then Milenkovic on set pieces as well. So I think statistically, like shots expected to be saved for us was dead last year. I do think VAR, we were on the wrong side of that a lot. And then the set pieces. So if you can just tidy up those 3 things and not necessarily be good at them, just be like average or slightly below average. That smells like 8 more points in the standings if you can just clean up those things right there. So I think just getting like a returning to the mean, it would do wonders for Forest in those 3 categories. And I think they've addressed all of those.
The stats were good for Forest last year, right?
They were.
The underlying stats, the XG, etc. And that is very encouraging.
One thing I'll say is a lot of people say we had the best 5th defense. I mentioned this to Chief and he hated me for it. The best 5th defense in the league from open play last season. But obviously we were shipping a load from set pieces. But I believe that that's kind of a warped stat because most people were playing for set pieces against us in order to get goals because they knew after a while we were bad at them. So that's why they weren't scoring from open play. So that's the one underlying stat that I don't really look at. What I love about having fans on from the USA is they're so they're so surrounded by American sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, that everything's about stats. So when you hear the way he talks about it, it's like, okay, he must know a little bit more than we're letting, because we're just the eye test all day long, you know?
Yeah.
What's Ola Aina's on-base percentage?
Oh, that stat's outdated now. We got to talk about ex-WABA and different things like that. But,
oh God.
Yeah. We've moved beyond on-base percentage. I'm not even a big stats guy, but I do feel like their summer window, it did make sense. And some of it with the eye test, we want to talk about advanced stat. Milenkovic is just 6'5". So I feel like that helps on set pieces. That's got to be worth something.
And just the fresher mentality, like the guys that have been on our squad for the past few years are going to get used to the fan base online and in the stadium, constantly talking about how bad we are at something. We get some fresh blood in who, imagine being Milenkovic. You can, I don't care. I'm a massive centre back in Serbia.
I hope he doesn't speak English.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be the key to us. It's got to be mentality. It's like, yeah, screw this. We can't swear, can we, Chris? Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, we have. So,
yeah.
Matt,
I just wanted to jump in. Where are these guys going to be watching it? Like time? Is there a special thing with it being start of the season, or are you just chiming in on your computers?
No, we had a group of guys here in our office. Like I said, we got 2 Arsenal fans. One's from Zimbabwe, another guy from Miami. Then we have a City fan, and we have a United fan. So we're all going to be in our office, and we'll have all 5 games on at the same time, or all 4 games.
Oh,
on
wow!
At the same time. So I think that's going to be the plan for the majority of the year. And then I love my couch. So that's where I would prefer to be. But I think for the start, we're all going to be together, and it'll be a battle to see who can have the sound on for their game.
Yeah, that's the best. And you're all supporting different teams, but presumably it's going to be like 9 a.m. or something.
Yeah, it'll be 9 a.m. Yep.
That's so funny.
You just remember to mute yourselves when you're not talking. Sorry, I know it's annoying. Yeah, no, I'm only saying it because I can hear scratches and stuff. It's driving me crazy. But yeah, so you're watching. To be fair, Chicago has a massive stronghold. Like they have a big NFFC Chicago group.
Yep.
They're heavily connected to NFFC North America, and they did have did you do it last year? Was the NFFC NA meetup was in Chicago? I wasn't there. I was gutted. It looked absolute class. So yeah, Chief may have a couple of Arsenal and United fans surrounding him, but there's a big stronghold of Forest fans in Chicago.
We've got a great group. So they'll all be down at the Embassy, which is on like kind of the west side of Chicago. We've done things at the DraftKings Sports Bar up at Wrigley. We did the last day of the season there, and I think we had like over 20 people come out. So we have a good group supporting Forest in Chicago.
Wow. Nice. What about you, Simon? Where will you be?
Well, as usual,
the fantasy is like there's some weird like beach resort. And even if it's like not many of you as fans, that it's something exotic. But
I work at some weird beach resort. That's where I work. But I'll be there. I'll be in splendid isolation coaching on the pool deck. So I'm afraid I'm going to be on my own, surreptitiously following it on my phone. Although I did find another Forest fan here, and he's the High Commissioner. Of the UK. I found I think a 5th Forest fan in the Bahamas, and he's the High Commissioner. So I don't know what that means, but
I was going to say, sorry, it sounds stupid, but what's that?
Some diplomatic thing.
And right, so it's diplomat Sports Forest there. Did you say? But you're going to be watching it poolside? Did you say the game?
No, I'll just be following it on my phone.
Oh, while you're at work?
Yeah, I'm always working during the games. It's a terrible time zone for that.
On a Saturday as well.
Yeah, man. You got to do what you got to do.
He doesn't want to say anything, but there's a few very big professional footballers that occasionally frequent his, but we won't say who they are, but let's just say they're pretty. He has a lot of footballers coming in and out of that resort. Am I right in saying that, Simon? You can say
yes.
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Grant. Matt, please mute that. The scratchiness on your shirt is driving me up the wall. Not now.
Sorry, man. Sorry, no. I was literally holding here on mute. I just wanted to check because it's kind of cool for people listening at home. Is like these guys, literally in different time zones. What's it like? Because even if you're not at the game, you'll be in the Trent now.
Chief loves a coffee.
It's the best. It is the best. I love waking up and just, I started with those 6:30 games last weekend in the championship. I am a morning person, so I just get up immediately and put the coffee on and start watching soccer. So it's my favorite morning routine.
The thing I loved about it was I've said this a million times, when I was in Canada, it was the coffee, it was the football. And then if it was the 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock kickoff, the rest of the day there was more sport. There was like right into the evening, you know, hockey, basketball, but it was just class. So yeah, it kind of started your day, but it would also ruin your day early on, particularly when we were really bad a few years ago. So okay, look, let's move on to the red hot take. The second question of the whole thing is, you know, do you have a controversial sort of red hot take? Simon, we'll start with you. You said you lined one up for me. Hit me.
Sorry in advance, guys. I think this is a futile question, but yeah.
I had to really think about this one. I don't know if us finishing 16th is a red hot take or not, because everyone's got us finishing 13th, and I'm not that optimistic. So that would be my first take, but I'm not quite sure how red hot that is.
Yeah, I mean, as Matt would say, that's more of a lukewarm take. But
okay,
like, I'm not undermining you, like Matt undermined the question at the beginning prior.
That's okay.
It forces people to try and be quirky when it's not. It's got to be a natural thing, Chris. But it's fun. It's fun. That's good.
All right, I'm going in 2-footed here, and you're not going to have me back on the podcast when I tell you this. But my red hot take is that Gibbs White gets 10 goals and 10 assists, but it's not for Forest.
All right. No, I think that is a good take, though.
Matt loves that stuff. Yeah.
That's a good take. Loves that stuff. It cuts deep. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. It cuts deep. Lord. Right. Chief, give us your red hot take there. Last year, by the way, everyone, before I should preface this with Chief's red hot take was that Ryan Yates would score an important goal. And it was only like 6-7 games before the end of the season. He said this, an important goal for Forest. He didn't know specifically which, but it would be the winner and it would keep us up. And that was the goal against Sheffield United, and it did. So his red hot takes tend to come true.
Now I feel like I should pick him to finish 8th. If all my picks are coming true, just have Forest as high as we possibly can.
Did you jump in that lake you said that was near you?
I was in the lake. I was in the lake in the 8 shirt. Yeah. So
he was.
Luckily the weather had turned, because if it happened like the week before, it would have been like a 40-degree day. But it ended up being, it was still cold. The water was still cold, but we made it happen. So I'll say we get a goal, a first-time goal scorer in the Bournemouth game, whether it's Sangare or Murillo. I'm not sure, but I feel like someone's going to check that box for the first time this weekend.
Nice. Love that. That's a great one. Matt, give us your red hot take. Or who do you think? Go on.
So what I think was unfair on Simon as well is he was doing it for the season, because that was a great one that cut deep about Gibbs White scoring 10 goals, but not for us. It's like really made me think.
Can I also just point out real quick that my last red hot take was incredibly freezing, and that was that Gibbs White would be tired after the under-21 championship last summer, and that Scarpa would take over and score loads of goals. So that's my track record on red hot takes.
Yeah, but it's how it makes you. It's how it makes the people listening to your take. It's how it makes them feel, and it's a good one. It's triggering. You go, whoa! It's like a good thing, even if it's not real. But look, what I was saying, Chris, is
goal, Simon. By the way, Matt, you know what I mean?
No, I know you're not. No, but Simon's was over the season, whereas I've interpreted it like Chief, and I thought he meant a red hot take for this game.
Yeah,
and I've gone for.
Or actually, I don't know. Did it?
I'm going for we got a 2-0 win, but Gibbs White misses a penalty.
That's pretty lukewarm as well, I think.
Yeah. I did ask Chris for clarification. Is it for the season or for this weekend? And he replied, yep. So I was lost. I didn't feel like asking him
Jesus, again. You've caught me out. Matt loves that. Okay. Right. My red hot take. I've done loads. I'm not going to do one. Will I do one for this weekend? Yeah, I will.
You should do one for this game specifically, because that's what I mean. You just do them all the time.
Yeah, easy. No problem. Milenkovic scores twice.
Oof.
2 headers. 2 headers from almost the same position in either half. How about that? What do you think, Matt? No?
I think that would be amazing, but it's not. It didn't get me. I just went, yeah, I can see that happening. That feels like a amber take. So
I feel like Simon's going to come in and say, yeah, but one of them goes in our own net.
Yeah, the way he's going,
he injures himself.
Right. Okay. So red hot takes done. Who is most likely to win the blame game? Now, this doesn't it's essentially we do a blame game every week. When we lose specifically, we do one on the post-match show, me and Matt, and we always have one person who's to blame. It can be the referee, it can be the chairman running onto the pitch, it can be the coach, it can be a player. Who do you think is most likely to be the winner of the blame game? And it doesn't matter if we win or lose. It could be someone scoring an own goal and we win 3-1. But we'll go with you, Simon. Let's start with you because you're loving this at the moment.
I'm missing negativity down here in the bottom left. How about Murillo to continue his bad pre-season and concede a penalty or two?
Or two. Jesus. Yeah, hope not.
Well, I've gone for a 2-2 draw in the first game, so.
To be fair, that's a good one. That's a reasonably good winner of the blame game. Matt probably thinks he stole that from him because he was giving out about Murillo on the last episode for some reason. But
wasn't giving out about him. You were asking me predictions for who's going to be the most disappointing player, and because I've got such high expectations, I feel like he's susceptible to win that, and I do feel like it could wobble for him this year. So I was giving you an intelligent answer, and you've taken it personally on his behalf, Chris.
To be fair, I can't argue with that. That was a good logical response. Chief,
yeah,
what about
I wouldn't
you?
credit if it wasn't.
Oh, okay, Chief.
I think it's an easy choice, but I was not overly impressed with Matt Sells last year, even though he did kind of stabilize the position after my boy Matt Turner just wasn't up to the level. So I'll say Sells as the potential weak link, and I would love a loan to buy for Ramsdale or somebody like that to really upgrade that position.
That is a good prediction of the blame game there. I have a question for you about Turner, actually, because a lot of the USA fans in one of the groups, they were going on and on and on about Matt Turner, and then he came to Forest and he did reasonably well for the first couple of months, but then it really did kind of fall off the rails. What was it like for you as a USA fan? I know you're very competitive, so you don't care as long as your team's winning, but were you like, oh gosh, he's done it again? Like if Bamidele, he's Irish, right? If Bamidele was like making mistakes left, right, and center, like I'd be burying my head in my hands, but I'd be desperate for him to do well secretly, kind of as well. What was that like last season when Turner just kept giving the ball away and kept making mistakes?
Yeah, it was tough, okay, because it's something that we had seen little flashes of, but it doesn't come out as much in CONCACAF because the competition level just isn't there, where it's like you make a mistake, like, oh, well, where here is like a mistake, it almost always felt like in the back of the goal in some kind of crippling, heartbreaking manner. But I wanted him to do well because, and same thing with Reyna. When Reyna came over, I always root for the Americans, but it just didn't work out here. And historically, the United States, the only position where we felt like we had a true international level player was in goal, with Tim Howard or Brad Friedel or Casey Keller. Like we've always had a solid European level goalie. Turner is a level below those guys, where it's like the rest of the program has gotten better. It's like I would love to have Pulisic or Weston McKennie or somebody like that in Forest. So when it was Turner and it flopped, it gave you a lot of I can imagine. Yeah, it was hard on multiple levels, because then even on Twitter, where you have like, I would be critical of Turner, you get all the Americans in my mentions being like, oh, it's not his fault. Forrest is terrible. And it's like, no, it is his fault. Like, he's been objectively bad. So I was glad when they got Sells. I wish that they would take it a step further and get like a bona fide number one for the Premier League. Like I miss Brice Samba. Samba's my all-time favorite Forest player. I loved watching him play and the charisma, and they just haven't been able to replace that.
On a non-sporting level, though, and I don't know if this offers any, my empathy sort of glands go off a bit, and I don't think I'm alone in this. And Simon, I don't know if you get it as well, because you're from Nottingham and moved out to the Bahamas, right? If I remember rightly.
I'm actually from London, I'm afraid, which is
from London, but from England, I guess. And
yeah,
Chris, you'll get it as a Forest fan from Ireland. But where I'm getting at is looking at Chelsea. Everything is built on for Premier League sides. They're going to be able to compete with the stupid financial rules. You need an international fan base, and you need an American fan base. So I'd hate to put off American fans from sometimes the sarcasm and abuse, I guess, from the football terraces, because you don't want to lose that love that you get from that side of the Atlantic. And I think about that when everyone's going. I'm so glad people like Eric Lehigh were cult heroes at Forest, because and everyone's shouting USA, USA, because I kind of think if you're in the US and you're not someone who loves football and has followed it, and you're sort of getting into it and you're picking your team, and you're brave enough to not go for Man United, Arsenal, whoever, Man City and all that, you don't want them to hear the fan base just giving off a big American goalkeeper. It's a bit like, look, all right, let's not embarrass the guy. He isn't trying to be bad. And
yeah.
Like I don't know if I'm being clear, but
I think the casual fans might fall into that camp. But if you're someone who watches the men's national team, you're kind of aware of some of the warts on Matt Turner's game. It's things that we've seen before. I went to the Jamaica versus USA, I think it was Gold Cup at Soldier Field last year, and I think we tied that game, and it was just, but like he had moments where you're just like, this guy is not Tim Howard, where Tim Howard, just throw him out there and you knew you were going to get a great performance. And Matt Turner has kind of been the weak link, or one of the weak links of this, quote unquote. I'm losing faith in our golden generation by the day, but he was always kind of like, I wish we would have a young kid come in that could push him. And it's just it hasn't happened yet. And we're hoping somebody somewhere emerges before 2026.
How far behind him is Ethan Horvath, out of interest?
Horvath has never really been selected for a big game. I think he's usually the third or fourth choice goalie for the national team. It is, at this point, it still is Matt Turner's job. There was a kid from the Chicago Fire who was signed by Man City. I think he's probably 19 years old now. So he's probably still not going to be ready for the World Cup in 26, but he's supposed to be like the next great American goalkeeper. And his name starts with an S, but I'm blanking on it right now.
What's interesting about what you said, specifically about Turner and mentioning Tim Howard and Casey Keller and some of those players, because USA were always known for their goalkeepers, probably because they have so many sports with hand-eye coordination with balls and stuff like that. And now it's getting more about distribution, and that's probably what's lacking in his game. When he kicks the ball, like I play football to a very low standard, but I played since I was a kid, and anyone who plays, Simon, Matt, not you, anyone who plays, you would know that like there's a certain way that a player kicks balls. It's like if I played ice hockey and I went out there and played and I learned for a couple of years, there'd be something about the way I move the stick. It's just not natural. It's not natural learned ability, if that makes sense. And that's the way he kicks the ball is really unusual, and it scares the life out of me. But he did have a couple of good months before he fell apart last season. And anyway, we should probably move on to Matt,
but it's important it's really important that we keep our international fan base growing. It's crucial. It's as crucial as doing well on the pitch, or we can't.
But do you feel that the Forest fans got on Turner's back last season? I don't really ever remember them booing him or anything. Like I thought they were sort of broadly supportive, even through his mistakes.
They did. No. When I was at the Man United game and he made that mistake, I hate Man United and I was about to lose control, but I literally just sat down, turned to my cousin who's a goalkeeper, and I said, listen, we probably need to change goalkeepers soon. Everyone else booed him. There was a massive amount of they booed him every time he got the ball, which I thought was stupid because you don't want him to do bad. We're at 1-1. We can still win the game, which we did. I hated that. But it did happen.
But also it's also online. It's less even. I bet, man, to become in Matt Turner and all the players' position, they've got to be pretty thick-skinned individuals. It's the international audience online seeing the hate. I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe I'm being oversensitive. I'm doing what you do.
Ask Chief about some of the sports over in America. They don't mind a bit of hate.
No, I love hating people. It's one of my favorite things.
Can I use this international platform online to say that I reckon Danilo sold him a bit short on that pass, and it wasn't 100% Turner's fault.
It wasn't 100% Turner's fault, but as a goalkeeper, you have to know to get rid of that ball. If it comes back, you're sold short, you can't play around with it. And that, you're right. There was a moment I thought, and the way he passed it out and Garnacho came in and the defenders didn't get back and whatever. But there's things, goalkeepers are known for Route 1 stuff when, the stuff hits the fan. You launch it forward. It was just one of,
the son's just trying to have his back a little bit. So that's good.
But Matt, to answer your question, I do think Americans love Americans, obviously, okay? But I do think that if Forest progresses up the table and at, year 3 in the Premier League, because of Disney, we all know Robin Hood. We all have some sort of brand identity with Nottingham. It's a great logo. It's great colors, great history. I remember talking to somebody at the club years ago where it's you got to make sure that I Believe in Miracles, Brian Clough movie, is available in the United States again, as you're back in the Premier League, to just get people more familiar with the brand. And I do think of all the clubs in that bottom half of the Premier League, the one that has a chance to grab more American fans would be Forest, more than Bournemouth or Wolves or something like that, just because you have this nostalgia for Nottingham more than any other place. And maybe
I would love a Hollywood remake of that film.
Blinders, it would be different, but I think Forest would be at the top of that list. for the bottom half of clubs to gain more American fans.
Yeah,
that's really cool to hear. I mean, obviously, because I'm such a massive fan of him from Nottingham, I'm really excited about that. But I've always beared that.
And I'm trying my best. You know,
I would love Hollywood to remake, I believe, in Miracles somehow and dramatize it. And
Brad Pitt is Trevor Francis. I can see it right now.
Who is Trevor Francis?
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's it. I'm really sorry, gents. Chris, I completely thought this would be done in 20 minutes because I thought, but it's been really engaging. But I've got to run. I feel really embarrassed to say that, guys.
I'll be the co-host. All right,
you be the co-host.
You be the co-host.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Matt. None of our listeners or subscribers or anyone who's watched or listened to the show in the last is surprised. We've seen this happen before. It's fine. You have to go, but it's not a surprise. I'm not angry.
I thought you'd be managing the time better, Chris, to be honest. But listen, guys, it's a real pleasure to have you on this first week. I'm really sorry to run after just half an hour.
Oh, it's nice to meet you, Matt.
Yeah,
nice
you Matt. Too. We'll see you again. We'll see you again. This will evolve and grow and become more fun. It's lovely to unite the international community before game day.
We'll see you at Bournemouth, the ticket that I paid for. Bye.
Lovely to meet you, Chief. Nice one, Simon, as always.
It's okay, mate.
Lovely to see you again, mate. Bye, guys. Bye, Chris. Yeah. I don't even know how to get out of this thing.
Just exit. Jesus Christ.
Right, see you later.
Just exit. I'll just remove you, will I?
Yeah.
Does he leave parties
Look
like
it
this?
out. There we go.
Jesus.
Oh, those are the nice flags.
There they are. Yeah. Well, we got both of them in there. Yeah.
Now I'm English, so now I am the co-host.
Now you're British. Yeah. Look, lads. Yeah. We'll stay on a little bit longer. Simon, what's your time like?
No, I'm good. I've still got another 20 minutes.
Legend. Right. We'll stay on a little bit longer. Yeah, I suppose the final question. Matt actually came up with the questions, and he kind of blamed me for them. But the final question was something to do with the least likely to win the blame game. So who's likely to have a good game, basically? Not just player of the match, but someone to do something incredible. What do you reckon, Chief?
I had Elanga written down for this. That goal against Olympiacos, where it's like, man, like the individual from midfield just went through their entire defense. I love the speed. I love him on the counter. I think he just makes things happen. He's one of my favorite players to watch. So I'm going to go with Elanga.
Love that. And he's lightning and he's exciting. And when he gets on the ball, it's like Brennan. Brennan, like, didn't look silky or really skillful, but he had this electric pace that would just scare the life out of defenses. And it didn't look like he was that fast. Elanga's the same. He doesn't look like he's running as fast as he is, but he is. And he just gets the ball. And I'd love to see him do well. I actually think he's going to have a big season. I think he's going to put it all together this season and get his finishing product better. Simon, what do you think? Who's the least likely to win the blame game or the most likely to be the hero?
I'm going to stall for time a little bit. Have you guys seen those videos of Elanga like doing with his personal trainer?
Yeah.
Like his foot speed is unbelievable.
Yeah, he had like 48 touches in 18 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, like tapping on the weights. All of that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love those videos because it just shows that, like, you just see the dedication. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
The praise game, this is a real tricky one, but I'm going to have a last minute change of heart. I was going to say Sells because his ceiling and his floor are so close together. Like, he's never that good and he's never that bad. But that's boring. So I'm going to say that Sangari will get a 25-yarder from the edge of the box, top corner.
I love that. Yeah, and he's been threatening that as well. I know in the Olympiacos game, he played class the first 15 minutes and he thought, I'll have a crack, and he blasted it over the bar. But we've seen the highlights of him do that a couple of times for, was it PSV?
Yeah.
And we've seen him do it. So yeah, I love that. That's a great one, to be fair to you, Simon. I think the least likely is always Morgan Gibbs-White. It's boring, but the reason it's boring is because it's true. He's a class player. There's a reason teams want him. Every time he gets the ball, he just looks so technical and polished. There's something about the way he plays the game that I know that he is going to create an opportunity. And I think in this game, he is going to step it up. And there's something about even off the ball and the way he is and his passion. He plays like a captain all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that he's going to be absolutely impossible to deal with for Bournemouth at the weekend. So
I've never seen a player that is so silky and smooth and yet works so hard at the same time. It's kind of weird. It's a really weird but beautiful combination.
And
It certainly is.
He competes, every second ball. I'm trying to remember which game it was exactly. It might have been when he came on late as a sub, but he was bombing down the near flank and just won a ball. I mean, it was a throw in for them, but it was just a critical defensive play too. And he pumps his fist and he's all fired up. Like it does feel like he is the emotional heartbeat of the team.
Yeah, that was a saving tackle against Man U, I think. Was it Man United?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember him. No, there was one against Arsenal, wasn't it? Back end of the first season.
Yes.
It was Arsenal, and I was watching that game on a stag do, my own stag do. My brother's an Arsenal fan. I'm sat next to him, and Gibbs White, like it came from him having a shot. I think he skinned a couple of players and then took a shot, and then the ball got rolled out and he ran across and tackled the player, and he turned to the A block and just pumped his fist in the air. And I literally turned to my brother and went, yeah. It was just in his face, just yeah. And it was class. I remember it. He does that all the time. Olympiacos, we're playing a friendly in preseason the other day, and he lost the ball, ran back, shouldered the bloke off the ball down the byline, and then your man fumbled himself onto the ball, and they went out for a goal kick for us. So like, he's just, I love that. He's fierce. Right, he loves it.
The Man United one was the 2 possible red card offenses, like,
and then he spun away.
Yeah, when he got the ball. Yeah,
that was.
I mean, I remember in the first game he played for us against Everton. Do you remember against Everton the season before last? He just signed and he came on as a sub, I think. Yeah, he received the ball at in their attacking third, and he just did a half turn away from 2 players and then nutmegged someone and then flicked a reverse pass through to Johnson. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. And
it was ridiculous.
And one of the players was actually Anthony Gordon, who was with Everton at the time. And they were all rating Anthony Gordon around 50, 60 million, which he went for in the end. But I remember watching it going, oh my gosh, Gibbs White just came off the bench. This player is going to be next level. And he did live up to it, to be fair to him. He's been unreal. Okay, look, moving on to, listen, I don't know if we did score predictions at the beginning and all that, but in general, where are you guys watching the game? So I know we spoke about that at the beginning, but are you do you have a set routine for this? Simon, you said you're probably not going to be able to because you're going to be at work. Chief, are you going to get up, have a coffee? Is it Peacock television you guys use, or Fubo is what I used when I was in Canada?
It's Peacock for us. So that has been such a game changer too, where every game is on and available. So one way or another, either on USA Network here or NBC or Peacock, you can watch whatever game you want. I think that'll help Forest too, as people start to learn more about them. And so we'll be here at the office. A lot of times I'm home. We have a few bars in Chicago that are dedicated soccer bars. So AJ Hudson's, where there's a line down the street at 7:30 in the morning waiting to get in. So it's Liverpool, it's Arsenal, it's all the big clubs. And then you'll be like, oh, I'm a Wolves fan. I got these 3 guys. All right, you're at table 8. And they have the bouncer, the manager outside placing people, and they just make sure that you're by the TV that you want to see. It's a great setup. So I rotate around, but I'll probably say that probably 70% are on my couch with a nice cup of coffee.
Any fights there, Chief?
I haven't seen a real fight break out. People get mouthy, for here and there, but I don't think I've ever seen a punch thrown. So thankfully for that, I want no part of that.
We're protecting the brand.
Yeah. Anything for the badge. Yeah.
Do you know what I was in? It was funny. I went to when I was in Canada living there a couple of years ago. I was starting Forest being the Premier League. I went to the Toronto Trickies, right? Big shout out to them. Jordan, absolute legend. I went down there with a few of them. I was with this guy called Steve-O, and he brought me to all this thing with his Chelsea mates, and there was Chelsea Canadian fans, and he brought me to the bar, and instantly I just felt the edge turn in the place. I went in and I went, okay, this is a bit rough and ready. Even some of the English Chelsea fans weren't as rough and ready as some of the Canadian Chelsea fans. And I was like, they've really taken this seriously. I wonder what a Millwall bar looks like. Yeah, no, it was full on. And I was sitting there thinking, I was genuinely thinking, fight could break out at any point in time, but I don't know if it will. It was seriously it was like that in Toronto, and they have bars all over for different fans. I went to a Villa one; it was very tame and relaxed, and a Leeds one was pretty upbeat. So it's pretty cool to see them all over every city. It's deadly. I'm excited for the game. I'm going to the game with Matt. As I said, we've got tickets, so I'm flying late on Friday and flying in from Ireland and hopefully getting in there. And just hope for a better results than we had the last couple of seasons. Simon, do you rewatch the highlights afterwards? I mean, in sunny Bahamas, you're obviously in the middle of work and stuff, but you rewatch the games mostly afterwards, late on at night, I imagine.
Yeah, I usually get the highlights with my son, and we sit down and analyze it.
Yeah, he's a legend, actually. I was just to let you know, Chief, I was actually in Bahamas with Simon a couple of years ago, and he picked me and my missus up from the airport, and then we traveled out and I met his kids, and they jumped on a podcast we did live, and everything was kind of like an impromptu. It was pretty cool. His son's a pretty good footballer. That's cool. Nice one, Simon. There's not really much else to say about the weekend. I just hope we win. I think I'll ask you a couple of season prediction things now, and then we'll roll out. Simon, we'll start with you. Like, just give me your points prediction, and you mentioned that we're going to finish 16th. And then will Nuno still be the coach at the end of the season? Those are the three ones I want from you. So points, how much are we going to get roughly?
46.
That's pretty good going. Okay, and where are we finishing?
I don't know if this tallies, but I think 16th, 15th or 16th, a little bit higher than last season.
Nuno staying, reasons why to the end of the season?
Yeah, he stays because the team is set up how he wants it and we play well. Maybe we're still a little bit sloppy at the back and we give away some set pieces.
Nice. Chief, how many points are we getting?
I'll say 50. I don't know where.
Wow, I love it.
I don't know where that.
The American competitive attitude. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
But
mindset.
I was looking at it, and I think they're better than the three that came up. I think they're better than Brentford, especially if Tony goes. I think they're better than Bournemouth without Solanke, and they haven't replaced him. I think they're better than Everton. I think they'll be better than Wolves. No Nato for Wolves, and then it's like them and Fulham for are kind of. I feel like that's where their range is in this 12 to 13, 14 range. So I have them 12th right now because I'm an optimist. But I think you can make a case that if the things I described earlier with the goalkeeping, the set pieces, and a little bit better VAR luck, not sending 8 guys to AFCON. There's enough there, enough reason to be optimistic that there are a lot of the problems that they had, no points deduction. So if those things iron themselves out and you get this cohesion, year 2 under Nuno, you have a full season of Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi. And then to me, the whole thing, the big key is Big T, is Taiwo. And if Taiwo is what he was at the end of 23 for, let's say, 25, 30 games this year, then it's hard for me to be like, I like these other teams on paper better than Forest. So I am an optimist by nature. I'm a guy who says the Bears are going to win 10 games every year. They never do. So there is that caveat, but I'm feeling good about this team. And I think 12th is a good goal.
Yeah. No, I love that. I like my highest ceiling optimistic self. Genuinely, the highest ceiling I can see Forest go to is 8th. And people will say, oh, it's ridiculous. Leeds finished 9th their first season. They were in the Premier League, and now they're gone. It just happens. These things do happen. I think Fulham were somewhere not far off that a couple of seasons ago when they first came up again. So that does happen. That's where our seeding is. I've said 14th on this podcast before. I think I said 44 points was where I thought we'd land. Chief, does Nuno last the season?
I think if he survives, it's like they have to get out of the gate quickly. So the first 3 are Bournemouth, Southampton, and Wolves, I believe, is the third game.
Yeah.
I feel like if they're sitting at 3 points after 3 games, that's a real problem. I think that they'll have 7. Okay. They win this weekend. They win Southampton. They draw against Wolves. And I don't think 9 is out of the realm of possibility. But if he starts slow and then it gets bad, that month of December slate of games is very difficult. I think we'll know by September. But I think right now, I think he finishes the season. I think they're going to start great. I've loved the way they looked in preseason. I like the makeup. Feels like the business they did was sensible. Like Milenkovic, get Sangare back. They keep all the important players. We were so worried about losing Murillo and Gibbs White, and they managed to, I don't know, launder some money to keep those guys here and get rid of Mangala and Nikate. So I like the team. I like the team a lot, and I think 12th is good. 8th, I hadn't considered 8th, but I think 12th is at the high end, and 12, 13, I'd be thrilled. I would just love to not have like white knuckles in the second to last game of the year.
We love that a little bit, though, don't we? We do love a little bit of the jeopardy.
That Arsenal game, I was at a wedding. and I was in the wedding, so like we were doing pictures and stuff in the bar before going out. And I'm like, we have to your wedding's gonna have to wait. Like we got another 10 minutes here in the bar to watch the end of this game. It was one of my like favorite sports memories that I've had. So yeah, that was fun, but I would love a boring mid-table year.
Yeah. I'd take it any day. I mean, we finished 16th and then 17th, so anything above is progress. So 15th or above it will be good. Last thing, because I know, Simon, you have to go, and this is the last thing that I do want to ask is, does Cooper survive the season at Leicester?
Doesn't sound like it's going very well.
Right now it does. Reading. I mean, remember you said preseason means nothing, right? So you did say that.
Yeah,
and to be fair to Cooper, he had a bad preseason, a bit of a mismatched preseason with us when we went into the Premier League, and then he kept us up. But Simon, what are your thoughts? Just real quickly, and then I'll jump to Chief with it. But like, Cooper's gone to Leicester. Expectations can't be high. They can't be that high. Like we're talking about a team that might be getting a deduction. They've just come up. They've lost their coach. They're probably a little bit in disarray. They've lost Dewsbury Hall. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they can't have massive expectations, which means he might survive. What do you think?
I watched half of a 3-minute interview with Steve Cooper after the Lens game that they lost 3-0. And it was a bit like watching a girl that used to date like 10 years ago on TV. So my answer to you is I don't care anymore about Leicester.
Okay, wow. That's a mad answer, that one. I don't care about Leicester. I never really cared because I'm not from Nottingham, so I don't have that. Like, I have the thing against Derby because they're losers, but like Leicester, not as much. So I don't care about. But Steve Cooper, I will always care about. We will always be in my heart, and I don't care who hears that.
I still have girls from 10 years ago that if I saw them,
there you go. There you go. I'm not going to say I did. My wife's in the other room, but like I genuinely have. Like, I have that love for him, and it's weird. I hope he does well, but I hope Leicester do bad. So I hope he survives and then leaves by mutual consent, or he decides to resign because it's a waste of time for him, and then moves off. What do you think, Chief? Do you think he survives the season?
I think he'll survive. I'm still surprised that he took that job. It just seems like the worst possible job. You lose, Dewsbury Hall, then you have, you bring back Jamie Vardy, but he's my age, he's like old. It's like, how much does he have left? And they're getting that points deduction, or widely speculated that they will. It just feels like a job with almost no upside. And you would think a guy who has had great success in the championship, that maybe, I don't know what the pay difference is, but maybe one of those jobs would have been a better fit for him than coming up and taking it. Like, I haven't seen anyone predict that Leicester's staying up. A lot of the Ipswich are kind of darlings that people seem to be like, maybe they're the one to survive. I haven't seen anybody say Leicester, and understandably so. Like, they just don't have a lot, and they got more bad news coming. So I hope he does, but I have a hard time imagining that he'll be the manager at the end, or maybe he gets fired right at the end of the year.
Yeah, well, I like with Cooper, with this Leicester thing, by the way, I think where it comes from is we got to remember when he took us over, we were bottom of the championship. He loves an underdog story. He loves going in and fixing teams from the inside out. And he quite literally did that with us. And we were underdogs every year that he was manager for us. And yeah, I'd say that's a big part of it. Also, it's a Premier League job. A lot of my mates who are Man United fans like, Cooper should take a championship job. I was like, I don't know. Like, he's just moved up from the championship. He's done Swansea, he's done Forest, and then he's got us up. Like, if he goes to another championship job, he'll be remembered as that for ages. It's kind of like Graham Potter, who's been holding out from Brighton to Chelsea. He's not going to take a top. So I think that's probably the reason, but I speculate. And I don't think he will be there by the end of the season, but I think he'll last a few months. I think he'll be there a lot longer than we expect, but I think he will eventually go.
I mean, Cooper immediately ignited our fan base, Chris. Don't forget that. We had no expectations, and we were bottom of the championship, or third from bottom, I think, because we just won that one game with Stephen Reed. So yeah, he ignited the fan base, and then suddenly it became like this tidal wave of like passion, And it wasn't just Cooper; it was Dane Murphy, it was Marinakis, obviously funding like a hell of a lot of recruitment, too much recruitment, you might say. But I think that iteration of Cooper, it's just not going to be the same at Leicester, and it sounds like he's already running into trouble. It's a diluted Cooper at Leicester.
Yeah.
Well, like recapturing that level of magic, and like that team was so fun. That James Garner and Samba and Jed Spence, like they had so many guys. Even Zinkernagel, like they just had a lot of guys that were easy to fall in love with, and they played hard. They're always putting a foot in. Obviously, Ryan Yates. It's crazy that is something about European football that it just like I'm used to rooting for guys here for 10, 15 years if they're great. Like the idea that all those guys that I fell in love with in the championship are all gone with the exception of Yates is just, it doesn't sit right with me. So, I feel like it's going to be very difficult for him to recapture, like you said, that tidal wave of emotion and success anywhere else. Like that was like a once in a lifetime run.
Yeah, it was class. And by the way, Simon, I can see is putting on his socks. So that's probably the cue to exit.
Putting on my Forest socks.
Yeah, to get ready to play. But no, look, obviously we talked a bit about Cooper and a little bit about Nuno. I think Nuno, it's hard to imagine the same kind of coach, Nuno, compared to Cooper. But I think Nuno's come in and done really, really well. And I'm excited of having seen what he's done in preseason. He's doing all the right things behind the scenes and not being very showy in front of camera, which is absolutely fine by me as long as we win. I don't care how we do it. And I'm excited for the season. And thank you to all the people who are watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've just done a new YouTube channel. Listen on the audio Spotify. Follow us at forestallover on Instagram or at NFFC all over on Twitter or X or whatever. Sorry, Matt had to duck out. Chief, thank you for coming on. Absolute legend.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Love talking Forest with the boys.
Yeah. And Simon from Bahamas, thank you for coming on.
Not at all. Thanks for inviting me. Nice to meet you, Chief.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
I'll try and do this music thing in and then out, and then I'll stop recording. And Chief, you can hang out for a bit, or Simon, you can head off, whichever. Here it comes.